What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's one of those days. You're getting some Vivaldi in the background because it's hot. I'm feeling mellow. I'm feeling chill. I got myself a black cherry soda water. Life is good. I got no complaints. Well, I have one complaint. Any of you crazy ass CrossFitters out there do Murph on Monday? Well, I did. I did Murph on Monday, and I have to say, well, for those of you who don't know what Murph is, it is a workout that is done once a year at CrossFit gyms around the world. It consists of a 1 mile run followed by 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then ending with a mile run. Now, I virtually stopped doing CrossFit when I started boxing. I still go to CrossFit, but I'm not doing CrossFit workouts. I do some strength training. I do some mobility. I do some core work. And then I just go box. And really, I just want to maintain my strength, but I don't have the energy to do actual workouts at the CrossFit gym and still have enough energy to go box. So by no means am I in CrossFit shape at the moment. I knew Monday was going to be brutal, and it definitely hurt like it always does. Now, ideally, you're also wearing a 20-pound weight vest when you do this workout. I stopped doing that a few years ago. I can barely move. My upper body does not work right now. My chest is so sore from those push-ups. I don't think I could knock an old lady out if I had to. If some old lady tried to jack me on the sidewalk at knife point, I don't know if there's anything I could do about it. I'd like to say I could turn and run, but I can't really run right now because my legs are so sore. I might try to punch this old lady in the face, but I'm not sure I could even do that because my arms don't work. My triceps are sore, my shoulders hurt, my pecs are wrecked. All from this damn workout. It's fun, I enjoy it, but I am not enjoying the aftermath from this year's workout. Oh my God. I actually lied to my boxing coach, told him that my allergies were acting up and I'm not feeling well. I texted him the other day and was like, "Oh, I'm not going to make it to practice because I don't feel good. I think it's allergies. I'm just going to play it safe." No, the fucking truth of the matter was I couldn't move. I literally could not move. I think I'm just getting too old for that shit, man. I even scaled it. I didn't even do the pull-ups. I just did this thing called renegade rows. It's like a push-up, except you're hanging onto a bar and you're pulling yourself up. You're more horizontal. It's a little easier on your body. Still brutal when you're doing 100 of them. It's still brutal. So everything hurts. So I'm not doing nothing today. I may just go for a long walk. And we'll give her a shot tomorrow. We'll see how we feel tomorrow. But oh my God. It was a good time though. I don't want to discourage anyone if you're considering joining CrossFit. By all means, you should go. Just understand what you're getting yourself into, and 2, don't be afraid to scale. It's okay to scale. I scale everything when I'm there. If I'm doing any workouts at CrossFit, I scale 100% of the time now. I got nothing to prove. There is zero ego here. All right, some quick boxing news. Had a little bit of a jealous moment maybe a month ago. Somewhere in there. Got a little jealous. It's 3 of our guys. They're fighting toward the end of next month at a show. One guy, our fearless leader, Tank, he's going to fight. He always fights. But then there's 2 other guys. It's going to be their first fight. And I was excited for them. I've sparred a bunch of rounds with them. These guys are good. They're going to do great. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, fuck that shit. If they're fighting, I want to fight too. And I kind of let it stew for maybe a week in my head. And I was almost like a little offended that I didn't get asked to go fight too. This is a little bit of like kind of how crazy I am. Like I created conflict in my head that didn't exist. Like all I had to do was say something and Coach Vince was going to let me go. But in my mind, I was like, fuck that shit. He didn't want me to fight. And I created this whole scenario in my fucking batshit crazy head of mine. So I texted him and I was like, hey, I'm as ready as they are. I also want to fight. And he was like, okay. I was like, well, I guess that was easy. So, he reached out to the event organizer and they're going to try to find me an opponent. And this is the problem that I knew I was going to run into. There are simply not a lot of masters level opponents with 0, 1, maybe 2, 3 fights tops. There's just not a lot of guys out there, in my age range and my weight range, and then also in my experience range. What they don't do in the amateurs is just throw you to the wolves. They're going to match you up with someone, that's close to your age, in your weight division, your weight class, and then hopefully at the same experience as well. So far, I have no opponent, but, we still have about a month. So, we'll see. Fingers crossed I get something. The way I see it, I don't care whether I win, whether I lose, win, lose, or draw. I'm walking into that ring as one fighter, and I'm going to walk out of that ring a better fighter no matter what happens. So, like I've said before, I want the experience, and by golly, I'm going to get that damn experience. And if it doesn't happen this time, then I'm just going to keep, throwing my name in the hat anytime there's a show. And at some point, I'll find an opponent and I'll get to have a fight. So I'm excited. I'm not saying where it's going to be, and I'm not going to say exactly when it's going to be, because I don't want anyone going. This is something that I'm doing for me, and I want my teammates there, and I want my coach there, and that's it. Everybody else, no. Maybe the next one, if there's going to be a next one. Here's what I know is going to happen, because this is just the way I am. I'm going to do this one fight, and it doesn't matter how it goes. I'm going to get hooked, and I'm going to want to do another, and I'm want to do another, because that's when you really start to see improvements, is when you're really testing yourselves in, these real scenarios. And I'm going to get hooked, so we're just going to run with it. And I'm just going to have fun, and I've been sparring a lot more at the gym. Some days better than others. Oh man, I got beat up a little bit last week. I tell you what. God damn. My fucking nose still hurts. My nose is already big enough as it is, and I took a couple shots dead center to my big ass schnoz. Good Lord. Still sore. It's been a week and it's still sore. That's the fight game though. So yeah, that's what's going on in my little boxing world. If I get an opponent, cool. I'll give definitely a full debrief about how everything goes. If it doesn't work out, also cool. I'll keep you all posted, and we'll keep hoping that in a future show I'll be able to get in. So, all right. Moving on. Obviously, I'm talking MotoGP. Silverstone in the UK was this past weekend. My initial observations of Silverstone, it really looks like a fun track to ride. Like it really looks like a shit ton of fun. And for as popular as the BSB, the British Superbike Championship is, it's amazing how few people were at Silverstone. It seemed like every camera angle that in the background showed pictures of the stands, there were no fans there. For the 3-day total, mind you, 3 days, Friday, practices, Saturday, qualifying sprint race, Sunday, main race for all 3 categories, Moto3, Moto2, and MotoGP. They're all racing on Sundays. A total of like 99,000 and change for fans. Total. That's like 33,000 people a day. Compare that to the French GP 2 weeks ago. They had 300,000 people come through the gate over the course of the 3 days. 300,000. I don't understand that one. I think even Austin in the US, where MotoGP is not popular at all. It's a fringe sport that some people have heard of. Nobody in this country knows who any of these riders are, unless you're really into motorcycles. And most people are just into dirt bikes and don't follow road racing. Like these guys, like Marc Marquez, who's arguably one of the most famous athletes on earth outside of the United States. He could go walk down the sidewalk here and no one's going to know who the fuck he is. Nobody. Let that sink in. He's like the Michael Jordan of motorcycle racing. And he could walk down the street in this country, just about any street, just about anywhere, and probably 99.999% of the people in this country aren't going to know who the fuck he is. But you put him in any other country and he gets absolutely swarmed with fans. And even Austin in this country had a better turnout, I believe, than Silverstone. It was just really weird to see. And it was really unfortunate because, there was a lot of excitement. There were a lot of good battles. There was a lot of good racing that took place. But for whatever reason, there was nobody there to see it. The weather was good for essentially the entire time. The races were all dry. I don't know. I can't explain it. What's up, UK? I got a handful of listeners there. I check my analytics. There's a little bit of a following for the Jake Brown podcast in the UK. Why is no one going? Why did no one go to Silverstone? I would actually love to know why. Feel free to shoot me a DM at Jake Brown Pod on Twitter, X, or on Instagram, or leave a comment under one of the episodes. What is going on in Silverstone? Is it just the time of year? I've heard it's a really isolated track. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never been there. But motorcycle racing is insanely popular all over the UK. So I feel like there's no reason why people shouldn't be going. Now I've heard, 1, it's isolated. 2, it's, I guess you could say, unreasonably expensive. And 3, and this is just what I've seen from comments on social media, the fan experience is not very good. So all the events that aren't necessarily racing related, the different booths, concessions, that kind of stuff that people do kind of, in between races or before races, after races, the whole fan experience, that not to include the actual racing. A lot of people were complaining about that. It's not worth it. You don't necessarily get your bang for the buck. I don't know. If that's what people are saying, then that's what people are saying, and that's the reality. I don't know, though. I guess I'm going to have to go for myself and check it out. That way I can report back with an accurate description of how a MotoGP event takes place. And I know next year, I think they've re-upped for like 3 or 4 more years or something, but they're moving the event date to early August starting next year, which is supposedly when it typically is, but for whatever reason, because of scheduling conflicts or whatever, it was much earlier in the year by about 3-4 months. So, I don't know. We'll see. I can't imagine that there's going to be an extra 200,000 people that show up next year just because it's in August. I have no idea. Like, geographically, the track is still in the same spot. If anything, the prices are going to be more. Hopefully, Dorna or the Silverstone facility will maybe listen to some of the fans and create a better fan experience. Maybe more stuff for the kids to do, more access, for fans to the riders, to the garages. I don't know. I've only been to one MotoGP event, honestly, ever, and I was racing at it in the AMA. So I don't, it was at Laguna Seca. We were so isolated from the GP paddock. We had one round out at Miller Motorsports Park with World Superbike, and our AMA, our AMA passes, our credentials, our IDs, that kind of let me just get anywhere I really wanted to go, aside from like inside the World Superbike pits, having a seat, next to Johnny Ray or Carlos Checa. Like, I feel like I kind of just roamed wherever I wanted to. And if someone asked me, hey, or, I need to see some ID, I just show them my AMA credential, and they were like, oh, yeah, you're good. But when we got to Laguna Seca, that was not the case. And, our pits were very, very separate from the MotoGP pits, and we were not allowed anywhere near them. And I could not just go walk and check out the GP bikes. That was not an option. So I don't know. It's like, come on, man. Like, it's a sport. It's racing. These guys are people. Like, let's have some sort of, have a little more free availability. More free availability. Even if it's just to stand 10 feet away and just stare at the bikes, which honestly, like, that's what most people want to do anyway. I just want to stare at these bikes. Seattle there used to be the International Motorcycle Show that would, one of their stops was in Seattle. And every year Yamaha would always have, like some of like Valentino Rossi's like backup M1s there, like bikes that maybe he rode once, but for the most part, maybe they were like some of the test bikes and they just, put, Rossi's fairings on them, but like they were still MotoGP bikes, but they would have those bikes sitting out and you could get up close and personal. You could even touch a tire, you couldn't get on them, but like those bikes are cool as hell to look at. I believe Ducati at the time even would bring some of theirs. I could stand there for an hour and just stare at these bikes and get up close and look at in all the nooks and crannies at all the different buttons, all the different hydraulic. And this is before like the ride height devices and like, all the crazy, launch shit where they basically bottom these bikes out. They were a lot less technically involved then than they are now, but they were every bit as cool then as they are now, And I mean, you just make that shit available to people. Oh my God, they'll stand there all fucking day, staring at those bikes, taking pictures and whatnot. Like, people love that kind of stuff. I don't know, man. Just make it more fan friendly. I'm not saying the racers need to, I don't expect Marquez to be sitting there as well for hours signing autographs or talking to people, but it doesn't cost nothing to have the bike sitting there. I don't know. Just ideas. I don't know. What do I know? I'm not a marketing person, but like I said, from a fan standpoint, like that's some kind of shit that fans enjoy. Like, we fans love that kind of stuff. We are all, at the end of the day, motorcycle junkies who love the bikes, the riders and their personalities and their stories. Like, that's cool. It is. It's really cool, and it's impressive what, these guys are able to do on these bikes. But ultimately, it's the brand and it's the bikes that are getting us there. At least for me, as a fan of MotoGP, as a fan of World Superbike, it's the machinery, it's the engineering. It's, there was one I'm not going to get into who the journalist is, but based on how I describe this tweet, you may or may not be able to figure out who it is. But this journalist put out a tweet, just really, motherfucking the ride height devices, and how they're just, they're horrible for racing. And it's like, I get it. Like, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. And, obviously this is because of what happened to Fabio Quartararo. But my response to that was, some people are attracted to the sport because of the engineering, for better or for worse. That's what gets some people's blood boiling. That's what really gets them just fired up to, maybe to watch these races and to see all the behind the scenes stuff. It's not the riders. It's the tech. It's the engineering. It's the boundaries being pushed by all these engineers and all the shit that they create in their heads, and then are able to build and implement on a bike that is now going 226 miles an hour on a fucking track. Like, that's wild when you think about it. There is a whole demographic of people that love it just because of the engineering. So, do I love the ride height devices? Not really. I can't say that I do. I think there's other things that I don't like maybe a little bit more. But if it's not the ride height device, which is going to be going away, I think we got to suffer through the rest of this season. Does it go away next year or the year after? I don't know. At least by 27 at a minimum, but I believe next year. But at least by 27, ride height's going to be gone. Okay, so we won't have to worry about that. But, I mean, let's be honest. These fucking engineers that work for these factories, they're getting paid a lot of money to get these bikes to handle and go as fast as possible, to perform as well as any scenario you can dream up. They are creating parts and pieces and bits and little nuggets of machinery to make the bike conquer that scenario. So they'll get rid of ride height devices, but I mean, they're going to think of something else in its place. And just like with what happened to Quartararo, the ride height device failed. He had a 5-second lead in that race. He gambled on running a soft front tire. There were a handful of guys that also ran the soft front. He built himself a 5-second lead. And all he had to do was just manage that gap. Just manage it. Bez was not going to, more than likely, because Bez was also on a soft front. More than likely, Bez was not going to catch him because Bez's tire lasted the whole race. So there's no way that Fabio's wasn't going to last the whole race as well. And the fucking ride height device took a shit. And we all felt awful. I mean, it would have been Yamaha's first dry win. Well, really first win in God knows how long. 3 years? I don't know. I don't even know when the last time Yamaha won a race. I mean, it's been that long. And yes, Quartararo was absolutely devastated. And if you listen to the Paddock Pass podcast, the Oxley Bomb podcast, Matt Oxley interviewed him, or was one of the journalists there. Actually, I think both of those podcasts discussed it because, all the journalists were in there interviewing. And Fabio was literally brought to tears because he was so upset that that piece of technology failed him when he was about to win a race. Like, that's how much these guys care. All right? That's how much these guys care. Does it suck? Yeah, it fucking sucks. Should Fabio be upset? Of course. He has every right to be upset. Should Yamaha be upset? The engineers, the mechanics? Yes, they should also be upset. Everyone, the fans, everyone should be upset. Everyone involved. Me as a fan, I was upset because I wanted to see Yamaha win another race. Because like I've said time and time again, I'm a Yamaha whore, and I'm unapologetically all about that blue. Even though my dirt bike is a KTM, I think my next bike is going to be a Yamaha. I love y'all. I want to see them. I think more than anything, I just want to see parity up front. And for the first time in years, we have parity up front in these races. Okay? We really do. We really do. And it's great. But as a fan of Yamaha, as a fan of Quartararo, just like I'm a fan of all these guys, I want them all to be successful. I wanted to see Fabio win that damn race, and it sucked. But that's the beauty of sports. That is just sports in a nutshell. You pick your sport, and I will give you an awful situation that has happened that cost either a team a victory, an individual a victory, you name it. You name it. It doesn't matter the sport. It doesn't matter the year. It does not matter. It doesn't matter the event, whether it's in the Olympics, whether it's in their professional league. There are unfortunate circumstances that occur every single week, every single month, every single season in sports. But that's part of why we love sports. It sucked that Quartararo did not win that race. But oh my God, did it make for a dramatic victory for Bezzecchi, who was hard charging through that field. I mean, hard charging through that field. And who knows? I mean, I don't think he was going to catch Fabio, and we'll never know. All I can do is speculate. But my God, he was cooking. He was cooking. So who knows how hard he would have been willing to continue pushing at the risk of burning up his front tire. But if he's gonna push, and then Fabio every lap is gonna see Bez, he's +5, and then +4.5, +4. Maybe Fabio starts pushing harder. Maybe his tire burns up. Now we got two guys out in front who can ride their bike better on an absolutely mangled front tire. And you got Zarco there. But that's just not the way it played out. And that's okay. I'm not worried about Quartararo. Whatever they're doing at Yamaha, it is working. And, he qualified on pole again for the third straight event. He has qualified on pole while also breaking the all-time lap record. 3 events in a row now. Quartararo has done this. And now, not only is the 1-lap pace back, and to be back at Silverstone, it's a long lap. Okay, and the Yamaha can easily get out horsepowered at a track like Silverstone. And it wasn't. So not only is the 1-lap pace back, but now Yamaha is basically getting the full race distance pace back. We're not just fast for maybe 5, 6, 7 laps, and then it totally falls off. Quartararo, I feel like, is going to be fighting for victories, fighting for podiums the rest of the season. If he can do what he did at Silverstone on the Yamaha, fighting those Ducatis, he'll be able to do it anywhere. And we'll see, because Aragon's next. And that, again, that's a big horsepower track. You know, that long ass backstretch that's almost a mile long. Ducatis have, you know, the last few years have just been eating the Japanese bikes for lunch. But even Honda, I feel like Yamaha and Honda, they have turned the corner. There is now parity back at the front. There is now parity back in that top 10. It's not just completely overloaded with Ducatis. There's still a lot of Ducatis up there, don't get me wrong. But we got Bez on the Aprilia, who won. Zarco on the Honda, who got second. Acosta, who finished 6th. Jack Miller finished 7th. Joan Mir finished 10th. Vinales 11th. Rins in 13th. Raul Fernandez finished 12th. Like, these teams, and I'm not trying to put Aprilia in the same category as Honda and Yamaha, because, you know, that bike has won races the last few years with Espargaro and Vinales on it. Okay, that bike is capable of winning. And it won the other day, all right? But there's also a lot of rounds where Aprilia has essentially been irrelevant. Back with the Yamahas and back with the Hondas. But that's not the case. All these guys are moving up. Okay, and Ducati's 25, the GP25 is not as good as the 24. All right? It's just not. Whatever they did, it's not working. So, either way, we got parity back at the front. I'm happy for that. Aragon's next. I love watching racing. I mean, I wish I could be there to watch it, but I don't know. It's like I said earlier this year. God, what the hell track was I talking about? I was talking about Portugal. I don't know what it is about Portugal. It's just not aesthetically pleasing on the TV. And I can't explain why. Because it looks like a track that is fun as hell, but it's just, and maybe it's just me, and I'm sure I just sound like I'm fucking crazy when I say that, but for whatever reason, when I watch races at Portugal, it's just not aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if it's just so much stopping and starting. I feel like the whole lap is just the bikes trying to get going. It's like a dream, you know, where you're trying to run, but like your feet are stuck in the mud, or like they weigh 100 pounds, and like you just can't go. That's what I feel like watching races at Portugal is like. Now, I know that's not what the races would feel like if I was on a fucking bike there riding around that roller coaster. It would definitely not feel like that. But again, from a fan's perspective, watching it on TV, it just feels like they're constantly trying to get going. And then every time they get going, they're on the brakes again for the next sharp turn. That's not Aragon. I mean, yeah, there's a couple sections that are like that, but even the slow sections are still quick, and the fast sections are fucking fast. And those bikes are carrying a lot of speed. And I don't know, I always enjoy watching the racing that takes place at Aragon. So sign me up for that. I want to go do a track day there. Anyone out in Spain have a bike that I can borrow, and some leathers and boots and a helmet? Actually, I have a helmet still. I sold everything else. I sold all my gear: gloves, boots, leathers, spine protector, chest protector. I sold all of it. If anybody has gear and a bike that I can borrow to do a track day at Motoland Aragon, at Jake Brown Pod, just feel free to reach out. You don't got to cover any of my airfare. I'll pay for my flight. I'll pay for my hotel. I'll even pay for the track day. But I do need like a bike and some gear. That would be cool. I really want to go ride that track. God, it just looks like a shit ton of fun. And I'm curious to see how the attendance is going to be because, like the UK, Spain loves motorcycle racing and they always show up. They always show up. Now, Aragon is nothing like Jerez or Catalunya because it's, I think it's way out in the middle of nowhere, but there's still a lot of people that show up. I guarantee you there's going to be more over the 3-day period than there were at Silverstone. They're going to do more in attendance over the 3 days than 99,000 people and change. They will. And it's isolated. So, look, I don't know what the deal is. Now, maybe the Spaniards just like motorcycle racing more than the UK peeps. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Rider standings. Okay, so there was a little bit of drama. All right, that the Fabio having his ride height device fail with 10 laps left. That was not the most drama of that race. Okay, there was actually a fake race that happened before that main race, a race that didn't count. A race that started and saw Alex Marquez immediately crash going into turn 1. And I don't know about you guys, but it looked like out of the start. So when these guys get going, they lock their forks all the way down compressed. Okay. And then when they start and they get on the brakes pretty hard going into whatever the first turn is, there's usually enough force to disengage that lock, which then allows their front fork suspension to work as it should. Well, the problem with Silverstone, and I think this is just the configuration that they ran, because I think there's another spot that they could start and then finish, because I think they have 2 different start-finish lines. That's what it looks like. The run into turn 1 from the start is just, you're not getting up to speed very fast. I mean, and I use that term relative. These guys are still hauling ass. But for MotoGP standards, they're not going as fast as they are at a lot of other tracks. And it looked like Marquez got a great launch, and then when he went to hit the brakes, he just didn't have enough momentum to really disengage the locking mechanism in his forks. And at that point, you have no front suspension because they're still locked down in the compressed mode. So your only suspension is your front tire at that point, that's not suspension. If all you have is your front tire, you're fucked. And he immediately crashed. And honestly, he got really lucky because the trajectory of his crash took him on a runoff road as opposed to the gravel trap. So he's lucky he wasn't going a lot faster and had a crash like that, because he would have followed his bike at God knows how fast into the air fence and then smashed into his bike. And, we've seen similar incidents before, and that oftentimes does not end well. When you smash into your bike that has just smashed into the air fence, as opposed to just hitting the air fence or hitting the gravel trap, which slows you down before you hit the air fence. So I don't really understand. I mean, I understand why they have a runoff road there, but it's a horrible angle if someone does manage to tuck the front as soon as they tip in, because now you're at the mercy of physics at that point. And when you hit the ground, you're really not going to slow down that much, because these leather suits are designed to slide. They're not designed to grip. So, you're going to scrub some speed off, but you're not going to scrub that much speed off. And you better hope that somehow your bike flips up into the fucking air and goes over the air fence, as opposed to hitting the air fence in front of you and then you smashing into your bike, really injuring yourself. So he got very lucky. A lap later, Marc Marquez then tucks the front, crashes out of the lead again. Okay. But what had happened about, I don't know, fucking 5 seconds before that is Aleix Espargaro, he crashed and his bike collided with Franco Morbidelli, and this was toward the back of the field, and Morbidelli's bike was leaking oil all over the track. So they had to red flag the race. Now, the rule states that if there is a red flag that occurs in the first 3 laps of the race, all riders are eligible to restart. Let me say that again. If there is a red flag that occurs within the first 3 laps of the race, all riders are eligible to restart. Essentially, that first race never happened. So you don't have to ride your bike back to the pits like you normally would. If you are the person who caused the red flag, it doesn't matter. So had that been on like lap 10 or lap 4 or 5 or 6, I won't say 10, but let's say it's on like lap 7, okay? Espargaro caused that crash. He caused the red flag. He would not be eligible for the restart. Alex Marquez, whose bike was wedged under the fucking air fence, if he couldn't get his bike back to the pit, he would not have been eligible for the restart. Now, I'm not 100% positive. Morbidelli did not cause the red flag, but obviously he would not be able to get his bike back to the pit. So I don't know if he would have been eligible or not. I'm going to say he would have been, just because he was not his bike was leaking the oil, but he did not cause that red flag. Okay. Aleix did. But on what the rules say, all this fucking drama happened in the first 2 laps under that 3-lap rule. So all riders were eligible for the restart. All of them. So it's just like it never happened. It's like we got free racing out of it. Okay. Now I think that changed how the race maybe played out a little bit. Marc Marquez was out there on his B bike, and let's be honest, the B bike is not the A bike. And yes, ideally they are set up the exact same, but they're never the exact same. There's always something that's just a little bit different. They're never going to be the exact same. You're never going to have the exact same feeling with one that you do with the other. Especially these guys, they have such a feel for these bikes that, they know when something's just a little bit different. And I think that definitely affected the way Mark rode. I think it affected the way Alex rode. They were definitely having trouble. From what everyone was reporting, the medium front tire, did not work. Everyone seemed to be hesitant to for everyone to go to the soft, and a handful of guys gambled on it, and it paid off. But it was just too cold for the medium. The medium essentially acted like a hard, and it was taking forever for it to get up to temperature. And it never really did seem like it got up to full temp because it was so windy there and so cold there. So, it's like you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because typically when it's super cold out and you run a soft, you risk tearing it. But at the same time, if it's super cold out, you don't want to go too hard of a compound because then you can't push enough heat into it to really get it to grip. And it seemed like all the Ducatis were having issues with getting heat in the front tire and keeping heat in the front tire because it was so windy and cold there. So, hey, it's just the way it goes. Look, everyone, MotoGP does this rider of the race right now. You get to vote on it. There's a QR code if you haven't seen that. You get to scan the QR code on your phone and then vote for who you think the rider of the race was. And everybody picked Fabio, and I can't disagree with that. And I think honestly, and this is maybe, I really wanted to pick Bez. I was really happy for him that he won. And it was cool that Zarco got his second his second consecutive podium. But the rider I was most happy with, and I thought did the best job over the full weekend, the sprint, and the main race, Jack Miller. I got to give it up for Jack Miller. I think he had a 5th in the sprint and a 7th in the main race. He went with the soft front. He was running in second, maybe the first third of the race, and he was battling. He was battling with Acosta and Furman toward the end of the race. He had a hell of a ride in that main race on Sunday. And I feel like there were so many other races over his career where him being on the ragged edge usually equals him crashing. But for whatever reason, he was on the ragged edge all weekend and he kept it upright. And, for me, he was my rider of the race. And I was so happy to see him score some points and get some results because I know that Pramac team has been working hard, and it sucks Oliveira has been so injured and isn't up to speed yet, and Miller has really been carrying the load for that team. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he's back in MotoGP next year. His contract runs out at the end of this year. There's all these rumors going around about Toprak moving over to the Pramac team from World Superbike, and if that's the case, who's going to be out? Miller's contract ends at the end of this year. Oliveira's contract ends at the end of next year, but let's be honest, fucking contracts aren't worth the piece of paper that they're printed on, it seems like, and they get canceled all the time, and there's always a clause in there that either side can seem to get out of their contract. So really no one is safe regardless of the contract that you sign. So I'm hopeful that Toprak does get to the MotoGP grid, but it sucks, and I get it. That's the business. Someone's got to go, and someone on one of these teams, there's probably going to be a couple of guys that are going to be out of a ride next year. But I hope Jack Miller is not one of them. I hope he's not one of them. He's good for the series. And man, I love watching him ride that Yamaha. Hell, if anything, you could argue he should probably be on the fucking factory team next year. But we'll see about that. We got Aragon next weekend, and then, that's going to be, I think Marquez is going to absolutely dominate that one. He was in damage control. He did finish on the podium. He rode a very smart race. It was a very gritty race on his part. He did what he had to do to score some points, and he actually increased his lead, I believe, by 2 points in the World Championship over Alex. So your top 5 so far, as of 7 rounds through: Marquez is first, 24 points back is Alex. Pecco, Jesus, he came away from the entire weekend with 0 points. Tough weekend for Pecco. He's still 72 points back. Morbidelli has moved up. He is 98 points back. Zarco, he rounds out your top 5. He is 99 points back. So Zarco is by far Honda's best rider, and it's so cool to see what he's doing. The rest of your top 10, we got DG, followed by Bez, followed by Quartararo, followed by Acosta, and then Furman Aldeguer rounds out the top 10. Man, what a season. What we all wanted was parity. This whole time, all we wanted was parity. We didn't want to see Ducati just run away with it. Dude, Netflix should be doing the documentary that is rumored to be occurring at some point in the future. Netflix, you need to be doing the documentary for this season. This is the season. And I'm pretty sure you guys aren't there because I haven't heard anyone on social media talking about, random camera crews being around the pits. They are missing out. They really are missing out. So, I don't know. Whatever. Hey, that's my show for today. I hope everyone's enjoying the beautiful weather. Those of you in the Pacific Northwest, God, we were in the 80s the other day. think we're getting in the mid 80s by tomorrow. It's warm as hell here today. This is beautiful. Hopefully I'm not going to continue being sore as a motherfucker so I can go back to boxing, getting punched in the face. I haven't been punched in the face in like 4 days now. I'll go for a long walk today. That'll help. Tomorrow we'll be back. Vince, Coach, sorry I lied to you. I'm just old. I'm old. It wasn't allergies. I worked too damn hard on Monday. I did too much. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will talk to you all later.